One more game to discuss. The Cincinnati Bengals at the Green Bay Packers. Packers favored by 14.5. Joe Flacco coming to town. He drove down from Cleveland, drove down, playbook in hand, playbook open, had the iPad, he's studying, learning the playbook on his drive down here. Presumably he wasn't behind the wheel. But Joe Flacco getting the start here, freshly traded for as he makes his rounds in the AFC North.
Yeah. Gets to play the Packers again, you know?
Just beat the Packers a couple weeks ago.
Right. Just do it again.
He's going to get, health permitting here, 3 shots at the Ravens. He just wanted 3 shots at the Ravens defense.
Right.
Already had one.
Understandably. This is like a team. So old man Flacco, having driven down and now working off a 5-day notice, is going to have to play Micah Parsons in the Green Bay Packers defense, albeit one that he's already beaten. But that doesn't feel like a great assignment.
I mean, they beat him because Jordan Love threw a fourth quarter with the addition of Jack Conklin again last week and the loss of Cornelius Lucas. But
right.
You've gone from the second to worst pass protection situation by at least one composite measure of 3 measures to the worst. You've gone from the second worst to the worst in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Joe Flacco, it's worth pointing out, has also regressed significantly in the last few years in terms of how he plays under pressure, using Sumer Sports' new AI, what do they call this thing? Sumer Brain?
Sumer Brain.
Flacco's performance under pressure has declined significantly in 2025 with his lowest passer rating, 11, and his worst EPA per play, minus 0.85. Now, you mentioned the Titans losing a quarter of a point every time they snap the ball. Flacco's losing almost a point every time he's under pressure this season.
Always
negative 0.85.
Almost a point per pressured snap.
Yes. So every time you pressure Flacco, you almost put a point on the board.
You're an NFL expert. Do you think that the Packers will be able to create some pressure
I
against
do.
Joe Flacco and the Bengals?
And that's kind of my point, is I do believe that's true. He's also facing pressure at the highest rate this year of the last 4 years. And his average time to throw, he's been consistent average time to throw, all those kinds of things. So basically, you've got a guy who is declining pretty badly in the face of pressure, going up against Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers defense, which should be able to generate some pressure given how terrible Cincinnati's offensive line is.
So all that said, Joe Flacco, I don't think he's necessarily better than Jake Browning, but I think he can play better football than what Jake Browning had been playing. And that involves, like, if you're a fantasy player and you're like, man, the quarterback situation's so bad, what am I going to do with Jamar Chase or T. Higgins? I think they'll still get theirs. Like, I think Joe Flacco is still going to give you enough opportunities if you're Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. And that's where this is what the Bengals were thinking is, look, Jake Browning, he's been so bad. He's missing reads. He's not playing fast like he did 2 years ago. At least Flacco's going to get rid of the ball, right? At least he's going to give them opportunities. There'll be some picks. If he's under pressure, he's not going to break free and do anything.
There'll be some picks.
There'll be some bad plays. I mean, and again, we're just sad there's not Jameis Winston. Like, Jameis throwing for 450 with 4 interceptions. But, yeah.
Well, I mean,
this is where, like, 14.5 is a massive number.
Yeah.
Where if Flacco goes out there and just gives Jamar Chase opportunities and gives T. Higgins opportunities, like, they can at least keep it close.
Maybe. I think Flacco is – we always talk about Jameis as being the guy with all the broad range of outcomes and the wild YOLO style. And all. I think Flacco's kind of in that bucket now. Like, old man Flacco, the range of outcomes is pretty broad from there's a world where he manages to avoid interceptions and he just starts slinging it around the yard and he puts up 350 yards and it works okay and we move the ball and things are, this is a close game. There's also a world where he goes out there and it's like Jake Browning is playing anyway. Like all they did is move Jake Browning to old Jake Browning.
He's not that much better than
It's
Browning,
also worth, again, we made this point when they traded for him. Like, Jake Browning, in relatively recent history, has played good football. And is it possible that the reason for Jake Browning going from playing good football to playing terrible football is, in fact, because the offensive line is terrible and he's got, the receiving core may be good, but he's got no shot, right? Like, is it the environment more than Jake Browning just randomly became terrible? Because if it is, then that's the exact same situation Joe Flacco is stepping into as a geriatric.
Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action. We've got Micah Parsons, who's been moving around the defensive line.
Yes.
So it's not just him against Demarius Mims. The Packers, stunts and twists. I got a number. I got a number we got to add here because it's pretty important. Because the number of remember when Burrow was playing for 2 games, the number of was it Myles Garrett and then in week 2 Trayvon Walker 3 straight times free rushes at Joe Burrow on a stunt or a twist. Green Bay's rushing 5+. They've only allowed 1.4 yards per play. That's first. And then they stunt 79% of the time when they rush 5 or more. So it's not just the Micah Parsons factor. Like, he's in there and they're adding
chaos.
Exact. Well said. I don't think the Bengals are going to pick up chaos.
No.
So it's very one-sided analysis here. I think it's going to be a challenge for Cincinnati's offense against this Green Bay defense. All that said, Green Bay is coming off of some disappointment. Sunday Night Football, tying the Cowboys. Defense, the worst that they've looked. Tackling was awful. So is there, there's a world where Cincinnati, if Flacco can just get the ball out of his hands, get the ball to Chase, and especially Chase, start making guys, like the way the Cowboys were catching little hitches and making guys miss and creating big plays, like that world does exist here.
Yeah, it does. I don't feel like it's very likely, though. I think people are overestimating the sort of optimistic side of the Joe Flacco thing. Like, yeah, it's definitely within the range of outcomes. I'm not for a minute going to say it's not possible for Joe Flacco to have a good, clean game where Jamar Chase goes off just because he's given a ton of targets and that offense is reasonably successful. I do, however, think it's a pretty slim chance, and a far more likely thing to happen is that Joe Flacco gets buried under this Green Bay pass rush and the Bengals offense looks basically the same as if they just left Jake Browning out there.
And then I think, Green Bay, back-to-back weeks now, they lost to Flacco because they turned it over, kind of gave the game away. And their defense collapsed against Dallas. They created pressure. Micah Parsons had 10 pressures, kept winning, and they didn't do anything with it. That's not how the first 2 weeks went. So there are some questions with Green Bay and their mental state coming off of, I would say, a disappointing 0-1-1 back-to-back weeks coming off of their bye. So all that said, 14.5, is that too much for the Packers?
I'm going to say it is. For this one time, I think Joe Flacco can keep it within 2 touchdowns.
New QB bump here?
No, it's more I don't love Green Bay's ability to just run away with a monster win.
Really quick, it seems so wild in a game like football that's so complicated, and we hear how difficult it is to pick up playbooks and to learn it, and the number of times over the last couple of years that Baker Mayfield stepped off a plane, not even knowing anything, and won a game. Josh Dobbs did the same thing within a week, didn't he? Like, learned the playbook and at least ran the offense effectively. So it's not unheard of, right? As complicated as football is and playbooks and terminology and all these different things, like, we've seen quarterbacks do this before. I guess I'll take Cincinnati.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?